PFAS, also known as forever chemicals, are showing up everywhere. They're in our water, in our blood, and in our food supply chains. While places like Europe are phasing them out, the US EPA's latest move is limiting how much companies have to tell us where forever chemicals are used, made, and dumped. Back in 2023, the EPA issued a one-time forever chemical reporting rule under TSCA Section 8A7. If you manufactured or imported forever chemicals in any year between 2011 and 2022, including forever chemicals inside of finished products, you had to file a report. That report covered what chemical it was, how much of it you made, where it went, who might be exposed, and what you know about health and environmental effects. In theory, that's basic homework. Before you regulate a class of hazardous long-lived chemicals, you map where they are in commerce and understand their impacts. On November 10th, 2025, the Trump EPA proposed to narrow that 2023 rule. The agency says it wants forever chemical reporting to be more practical and implementable, and to cut regulatory costs, especially for small businesses. Here's what their proposal would change. First, the EPA would add a 0.1% cutoff. If forever chemicals are in a mixture or a product has 1/10 of 1% or less of a forever chemical, that use would no longer trigger reporting. Second, imported articles such as finished goods would be exempt. If you're importing PFAS treated textiles, coated equipment, or many other forever chemical containing products, you would generally no longer be required to report under that rule. Then third, the EPA would carve out several categories that are harder to track. Certain byproducts and impurities, PFAS, used only for research and development, and so-called non-isolated intermediaries, chemicals that appear only for a short time inside factory equipment. EPA keeps reporting for the biggest, most intentional forever chemicals manufacturing, but a lot of the smaller everyday interactions for consumers like you and me fall off the map. Now, compare that to what's happening in the EU. In the EU, forever chemicals are regulated under their main chemical law called REACH. The message for that is pretty straightforward. Protect people and the environment by phasing out the most dangerous substances wherever possible. Regulators are now using that system to phase out forever chemicals as a whole group and only allowing essential uses, things that are critical for health, safety, and how society functions, and where there's no safe alternative yet. And importantly, those rules don't just apply to drums of raw chemicals. REACH restrictions can also cover everyday products and imported goods that contain forever chemicals. So, while Europe is pushing companies to clean up forever chemicals across its entire supply chain, we over here in the good old US of A are carving out imported products and various finished everyday products from even having to tell us if they have forever chemicals in them. So in the EU, the direction is toward tighter control and full supply chain visibility. The US proposal goes the other direction. It keeps a broad legal definition of forever chemicals, yes, but it shrinks who has to report and at what level. In the US, in California, we have seen the cost of not understanding where hazardous chemicals are being dumped. Off the coast of Los Angeles, we're still dealing with the legacy of industrial DDT dumping on the seafloor decades ago. Scientists are still mapping that contamination and linking it to cancers in California sea lions and longstanding damage in the marine ecosystem. That's what it looks like when decisions are made in the dark. The profits were booked half a century ago. We're still discovering and paying for that damage now. Forever chemicals are today's version of that same governance problem. They're mobile, they're long lived, and they build up in living bodies. If we don't require companies to tell us where they are in supply chains and the waste systems, especially in low concentration and everyday products, we are choosing not to see the next crisis until it hits us directly in the face. But this proposal is not final yet. It's open for public comment until December 29th, 2025 at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That means you have till that time to tell the EPA what you think. To learn more or submit a comment, go to epa.gov or search for the Forever Chemical Reporting Proposal on regulations.gov. If you learned something insightful, please like and subscribe. And please share this episode with someone who cares about forever chemicals and environmental justice. Until next time. In theory, that's doing basic homework. Before you can regulate a hazardous, long-lived chemical, you have to know where it is in commerce and the impacts of it, right?